Hey, what's up guys, welcome back to another episode of the Minecraft Survival Let's Play. So I'm actually just starting to record this episode just before I'm going to move house in real life. So I don't think I'm going to finish this episode for quite a while. Obviously moving house is quite hard work. I need to move all of my stuff from one house to another, get everything set up, get the house decorated and everything like that. So it all takes time, so I'm not going to have as much time to play Minecraft as I would like over the next few months. But I do still want to get on with an episode here. So I think it's finally time that I work on the base a little bit. I did a little bit of work to the centre of the base recently. I added 3 new rooms to the second level. But I want to work on the village around the outside. I've had this world for almost 3 years now. And I want to fill this entire island with a full village with a bunch of different buildings and other stuff going on. And all I've really done is this lighthouse, a farmyard over there, a little house here, and then a few houses here which don't even look like they're part of a village. So I kind of want to connect all of this together somehow and start making it look like more of a village instead of just a few random buildings around. I think the base is very underwhelming considering I have almost had the world for 3 years and I've put a lot of time into this world. But I kind of focus more on my farms and stuff around. You can see I've got a diamond beacon. I put a lot of time towards my netherite beacon, even though there's still a lot more work to go there. But I do a lot of projects around the world. I don't just focus on the base. So I don't really make as much progress on it as I should have done. But I do still have a bunch of plans for around this area. So the village is just phase 1 of the base, and then I can get on with phase 2 after that. But I'm not really going to talk about my plans there until I actually get to that point. I don't know how much I'm going to get done. But if you look there where the spruce planks are, that is the spawn of the world. So I kind of want to add something around there for a little spawn area. And then probably a little bit over here, between the gold and netherite beacons, and then over that area too. So from this line here, I've actually worked on the wall a little bit there. So just pretty much a straight line all of the way across there. I kind of want to fill as much of this area as I can. I don't really know what I'm going to do over in that part, but I think maybe a little fisherman's house over here. I could add a few more houses around there, some pathways, something for the spawn. So I've got a few ideas. I don't really know how these are going to look yet. I still need to go into a creative world and kind of mess around with some ideas. But I think I'm just going to record this episode little bits at a time. So I'll probably start off with the little fisherman's house down here. I think that's probably going to be the easiest thing to do. This video is probably going to have a lot of time lapses in, but let's just get straight on with the first time lapse. Okay, here it is. It's not like the most amazing house of all time or anything. It's just a pretty simple one. I've tried to keep a similar style to the rest of the houses, but I'm changing each one slightly. So there's not really too much room inside. I'm not going to do the interiors probably in today's episode. I'll do them at another time. I don't really like doing interiors, so I'm going to put that off for as long as possible. And I am going to come back here later in this episode and add some smaller details around. But before I do that, I just want to add all of the bigger builds. And then I'll come back and add like pathways and trees and other smaller details, just to fill in some of the gaps. And there is a little docks area kind of thing around the back, which goes all of the way around. And I'm going to build a boat here, probably in today's episode. But I just wanted to quickly talk about this over here. So I've tried cleaning this up. I don't really like how the island just goes straight into the water and then there's like loads of different blocks in there. So you can see there's like dirt, sand, bits of gravel, stone, sandstone towards the bottom. I don't really like how that looks, so I've tried cleaning it up over on this side. So I'm going to do a quick before and after shot just so you can see. So this is the before. And then this is the after shot once I've made all of the changes. So I just think it looks so much cleaner than it did before. I've added different shapes and textures into the walls. I've cleaned it up so it's all sand now, apart from down below where it's gravel. I've also added the grass and some coral fans and stuff around as well. And I think this just looks so much better than it did before. And I've actually done the same around the other side as well. So I've done this bit, I think it looks quite nice, quite clean. And then if I jump over to the other side, I've not touched this bit and I think this looks really ugly. So once I've built the wall up a little bit and then cleaned it up, it will look much better. But this is actually a long and painful process doing this, especially because it's underwater. So even this little section here took me like 30 minutes. So yeah, I need to do this all the way around the outside of the island. And it is quite a big island, so I'm just going to have to work on this little bits at a time over the next few months. There's no way I'm going to get it all done in today's episode. But I just think it looks so much better once I've cleaned it all up, instead of just the default landscape. Okay, so moving on, because there's still a lot more I want to do in today's episode. I want to work on the spawn area here. So I mentioned it briefly at the start. This is the spawn area. So it's around about here. And I want to have a little spawn hub, but because the beacon's here, I can't really make this the centre of the spawn hub, because it doesn't really fit this area. So this is going to be like the corner, and I think like this will probably be the centre about here. So I've already started laying it out a little bit. This shape's going to go all of the way around. I think a fountain in the middle, a marketplace would look nice. So I've got a few ideas, and I'm just going to get straight into another time lapse. Okay, so that's the spawn area complete. I've been wanting to do this project for a long time, but I was just never sure what to put here. But I finally came up with the idea to have a little marketplace. I'm not like the first person to build a marketplace in their spawn area, but there's actually a reason I wanted to have market stalls. So if someone joins the world, they're going to join about here. This is the spawn area right here. And then I want to have all of the market stalls give something that's useful. So some will have food, some will have armor, one might have shields. Just kind of things that are useful to have at the start of a world. So if anyone does ever join the world, they can just come around here and raid the marketplace. Of course, they don't have to pay for this stuff. And then they can pick up a bunch of useful items to get a bit of a head start. I have mentioned in the past about some followers joining the world. I don't know if that will ever happen. But I do still have like friends joining the world who haven't joined before, or they kind of just die and then they need new gear. So it'd just be useful just to come out of here and then pick up all of the stuff that they need. And again, like the fisherman's house over there, I will be adding a few smaller details around later on. Probably like some barrels back here and just stuff like that that you'd see in a marketplace. And this fountain design is not actually mine. I just saw it on Twitter. I don't know where it was originally from. But I will put the creator's name on screen now. And I did make a few changes. It was all brick before. I've put a bit of granite in there as well. And I was going to put the dragon egg on top of here. I thought that could be a nice way to display it. But I am going to build a museum eventually, and I want the dragon egg to be on display in the museum instead. So I'm not going to put it up there, but I thought that could have been a good idea. And you might have already realised that I started doing some pathways as well. So this is like the main pathway that I want to use with the path blocks and then a few random blocks around the outside. So this is going to go from all of the main parts of the base. So obviously the spawning area, and then it'll go towards like other important buildings and stuff that are around. And then I kind of want these pathways going through like the less important parts, like to the houses and stuff. I think maybe I added a few too many blocks in here. I might have to remove some. It does look a little bit too busy or something, I don't really know. But I think there might be too many blocks in this design. I decided to move straight on to the next build, which is a little stables. I've had a few horses on the island for a while and I've not had anywhere to put them. So I thought having a little stable build on the island would fill a bit of space, it would look nice, and it's got a bit of function as well. And here is the finished build. So it's nothing like super impressive, it's only a small build. But as someone who has always kind of struggled to build things, I'm pretty happy with how all of these buildings are coming out so far. And I'm really hoping I can connect them all together and start making it look like a village pretty soon. So I've kind of been planning out where I'm going to put the pathways. These could change, I don't really know just yet. And I've got little areas like this where I definitely need to add some more things. But if I go inside here, I've got a little bit of an outside area where the horses can walk around. And then inside I've got 4 stables. And I've actually only got these skeleton horses. I don't really have any uses for the horses as I've got elytra. And then I'm on an island, so I can't really ride them anywhere apart from on the island. So I never really used them, but I've had these skeleton horses for a long time now. And I thought it's finally time that I build somewhere to put them. I do like this build, but I think one kind of issue with it is maybe the walls are a little bit too high. It's kind of hard to see what's going on if you're down here on the floor. It's okay if you're like flying above, but at ground level it's kind of difficult to see through. So that might be something I change, I don't know just yet. And then there's this thing here. This is going to change, I don't think I'm going to keep it like this. But what this is in the 1.21 update that just came out recently, there was a bunch of new dog variants. So I kind of had the idea to build an underground kennels area, and this is where I'm going to be storing all of the dogs. So obviously I've not actually built this yet. I'm not going to do it in this episode, I'm going to build it in a different episode. But because I'm recording episodes out of order a little bit, you might see it before the end of this one. I think the next step before I build any more houses or buildings is just to kind of plan out where the paths are going to go. And then I'm going to try fill in some of these spaces where there's just nothing, like here. I can do something under here once I've moved all the chests. And then areas like this are just a little bit plain. So once I've got the path in place going around here, I can kind of add like a flower bed or something just to fill in the space a little bit. So I'm going to see what I can do in areas like this just to bring them to life a little bit more. But this is kind of the bit I was dreading, so this is probably going to take me a while. While I'm adding some of these details, I thought I'd talk a little bit about the method that I've been using throughout this episode. So some people are just naturally really good builders, and they can just get a bunch of blocks together and then build up something that looks really good. But for me personally, even though I think I'm much better at building now than I was about 5 years ago, and I was better 5 years ago than I was 10 years ago, I still don't consider myself to be a good builder. So what I've been doing is making a copy of my survival world. I will go on the copy and switch it to creative. And then I will mess around in creative to try and make a few things I think look nice. And then once I've got a few things I think fit the village, I will go back to survival and build them for real on there. And then I'll make another copy of the world and then do the same again. So I'll just be adding little bits at a time. And then I'll head back over to a creative world to see what else I can come up with that I think will fit the island. So yeah, that's my method of what I've been doing. I can't just get all of the blocks together and go at it for a few hours and just come up with a load of new ideas and things to build there. It takes a lot of trial and error on a creative world first, and then I just build up little bits at a time. So if you're not very good at building and you can't just plan like a huge project ahead like some people can, it might help you out a little bit just to make some copies and do little bits like I've been doing. You saw me adding most of these details around. I'm going to go down and talk about them a little bit more in a second. But before I get to that, you might notice I put the day counter up in the top corner now. So this was added in the 1.21 update, and a bunch of people were asking me to do it over on TikTok, so I just decided to put it on the screen. I'm not really a fan of the day counter myself because of how inaccurate it is. So although I'm on like 18,400 days, so many of those days are AFK at various farms around the world. And then I also load up the game sometimes, get distracted and don't do anything for a few hours. So that adds a bunch of days. I sleep the night away a lot, so that halves most of the days when I am active. So 18,400 isn't actually how many days I've been playing on the world. But I am going to keep it on the screen from now on. And you'll see in quite a lot of my videos, like between one clip and the next, sometimes there will be like 400 or 500 days, sometimes even more. I don't just work on one project at a time, I kind of switch between projects so I don't get bored. So if I'm ever working on a project and it doesn't look like I've made that much progress, but the day counter went up by like 600, it's probably just because I took a break while I worked on some other stuff. But anyway, with that out of the way, you can see I've made a bunch of progress around here. I'm not going to go through and talk about absolutely everything, but I will walk around and show you what's going on. And there's some things that don't really make sense, like this here is the miner's house. So outside I've stocked up some gold in piles and some iron, some coal over there. It wouldn't really make sense to store all of your gold and valuables outside. But it's Minecraft, nothing really makes sense. So I just tried to add little details wherever I could just to fill in some space. So I've got a little water pump here, and this is actually built by the same person that built the fountain in the middle. And then I've got a few of these boxes around like this, which just looks like little bits of storage that's piled up over time. I built 2 more market stalls over here. This first one doesn't have anything for sale, but this one is kind of like the fishing one. So there's a fishing rod, turtle helmet, and then I put some melon seeds there that's kind of supposed to resemble some fish bait or something like that. And then of course there's a fountain here because there was a big open space here I didn't know what to do. So I just thought I'd put a fountain in there. And I added some of these lampposts in the corner. So this is the lamppost design that I'm going to go for on this island. It's a pretty simple design and I thought it looked nice having 4 of these, so 1 in each corner of the fountain. I think I might be going a little bit overboard with the flowers and flower beds, but it's just an easy way to fill space and it looks quite nice, it adds colour to the place. I'm going to try calm down with them a little bit. I don't want to be putting these outside every single house, but for now it does look good in this part of the village. And another way that I've been filling space is with trees. So I'm going to be having plenty more of these around the island, and I'm not very happy with this one here. I think I'm going to come back, tear all of the leaves off and then do that one from scratch. I think this one over here is a little bit better. It kind of like connects to the building a little bit. I think I did a good job with that one. But this one over here is my favourite, even though it doesn't look great from this angle right here. But if I come down here between these 2 houses, I think it looks really good from this angle. So maybe I'll mess around with the back of it a little bit, but I'm pretty happy with how it looks from the front. And if you compare this tree here, which is the latest one that I did, to this one over here, which is a similar kind of tree, you can see that this one is way worse than the ones that I've done today. So I'm definitely going to come back to this one and try and make this one better as well. So like I said, I can't really show every single little detail that I've added, but as I walk around, hopefully you can see most of the stuff that I've added. And eventually some of you might be able to join the world and have a look for yourself. But one big change that I did make is the pathways. So before I was using the path blocks, and you can see that I've mixed it up to the mud bricks, mud and these brown mushrooms. And the reason for that is so I can put stuff on top of the pathway like this. So with the path blocks like this, because they're a little bit shorter than a regular block, if you try placing something on top of it, it just changes back to dirt. So if I'm going to build stuff on top of the paths, it needs to be a full block. And I actually think this looks way better than the path blocks anyway, so I'm glad I changed this. And another bonus of the mud blocks is that I can hide some light in underneath them. So I think this is only a Bedrock feature, but if you put a light source underneath a slab or a stair, the light actually comes through it. So a bunch of these mud bricks are actually slabs that have a light source underneath. So I'm hoping by the time I've finished the base, there's going to be no mob spawning around here. And before I move on, there's one more thing that I quickly want to talk about, and it's this conduit right here. So I don't really know what this is supposed to resemble, but because I'm on Bedrock, there's not a whole lot of mini blocks that I can use. So I'm going to be using a lot of conduits and flower pots and lanterns around the island, just because I like the look of having some mini blocks around, but there's not a whole lot of them in vanilla survival. And I do think there is a mod that I can download to get some mini blocks in the game, but I don't really want to use any mods on this world. I want it all to be completely vanilla. So yeah, I'm going to have to use things like conduits and flower pots around, just for a little bit of extra detail in places. So if you see some of them and you don't really know what it's supposed to be, neither do I just put it there. And also if you do see any empty space like this in between builds, it's likely that I am going to fill this in eventually, I just don't know what to put there yet. So I've already spent a long time on this episode, and there's no way that I'm going to get all of the stuff done that I wanted to get done. These little details and stuff just take so long for someone like me who isn't really into building that much. So it takes me a long time to actually plan out where I want everything to go, and then I've got to get the materials and actually build it. So yeah, all of this took me way longer than I was expecting it to take. And I do want to try and get this episode out before the end of the week. So I think what I'm going to do is work on the back of the blacksmith's house, and this is probably going to take me a couple of days, and then I might end the episode there. So yeah, this is the blacksmith's house right here. So there's a little bit of working area up here, but I think what I want to do is add a bunch of stuff around the back. So this is kind of like the yard that he would use to work and make all of his tools and stuff. So I'm probably going to build a wall over this side somewhere to block this off. But we'll start off by building a wall over on this side. I think if I just randomly place some stairs and slabs and solid blocks around here, it should make some kind of wall. I just want to connect it over to here. I'll probably have the gate here. So maybe a stair, a slab, and then a solid block and a slab there. So that looks alright to me. And then I'm going to use a jungle fence because I don't think I've used one of these yet. Here, that's the wall going into the yard where the blacksmith's going to work. And I want to connect the miners area over here into the blacksmith's area. I feel like these would be working together quite a lot, and that's why I put the houses close together. So you can see in the yard here, I've got a lot of coarse dirt, rooted dirt, and then regular dirt, and bits of podzol around. So I'm going to do the same over on this side as well. For now, I'm just using the coarse dirt, but I'll go around later on once I've got the builds in place. And I'll start adding some of the rooted dirt and the regular dirt. Now that's done, I've marked out where the first two builds of this little area are going to go. So I'll get on with that one in a minute, but first of all I want to build this one over here. I tried something a little bit different with the editing there, so hopefully that all looks okay in the video. But this is the build that I've got here. So this is supposed to be a crane. So the idea is that the blacksmith would use the crane to get all of the gold and the iron and stuff from over here where the miner would leave it. So he's going to transport all of the gold in these pallets from like here, and then the crane would spin around and then drop them off over here somewhere. So I'm probably going to build a few more of these little pallets over here with some iron and some coal on maybe. So I've seen a bunch of these built in Minecraft over time, and I took a little bit of inspiration from a couple of them. I also thought it would be a cool idea if maybe one of these pallets dropped down into the water. So there's not really space to do it down there at the moment, but once I've done some terraforming and stuff around here, I can always make a little bit of space at the bottom, and then I can place one of them down there, and I could have some like seagrass and stuff on top of it like it's been there for a long time. So that's a little detail that I'll add eventually, but I need to get to the terraforming, which I'm not going to get to in today's episode. But anyway, next up I want to get to work on this build over here. So I think if I just look down like this, and then when I look back up like this, it should just be finished, because magic. So this is supposed to be a little like storage shed that the blacksmith would use for all of his storage. So I've come in here and I've tried to place a bunch of blocks that I think a blacksmith would have, like the anvil, the blast furnace, I forgot what this is actually called, the grindstone, and I like to use these beehives as boxes, so I've got a few of these around as well. So I'm pretty happy with how it turned out on the outside and the inside. I put an item frame here because I'll probably design some kind of map and put that in there eventually. I just put that there so I don't forget. And one other thing I wanted to mention is the pot here. So I would like to use some decorated pots around the base, but because I'm trying to collect a stack of each item, I do actually need all of the pottery sherds at the moment. But once I've collected all of them, if I ever do collect a full stack of each of them, I'll start using some of them for decoration on these pots. Okay, I just went ahead and I added some final details just to finish this area off. Although none of the stuff that I've built today is ever going to be fully finished. I'm always going to go and add things and change things as I get new ideas, and when new updates get released and there's new items that I can use. But there wasn't too much space here to fill, so I only added a few things. I added 2 more of these things here. I don't really know what you'd call these, but it's just the same as what's on the crane, but one of them's got diamonds and one of them's got iron. I added another log pile here, and then there was just a little bit of area here to fill, so I decided to add another working area. So there's a little working area up here. I just added another one down here, and I actually prefer how this one looks. I'm not really a fan of this little area here, so this is probably one of the bits that I'm going to change over time once I get new ideas. Now there's only one more thing that I want to build in today's episode, and I'm going to be building that just out here. But before I get onto that, I want to continue the streak of adding a stack of items to the checklist in every single episode. So I looked through all of the chests, and the one that I want to add in today's episode is the enchantment tables. I've had this world for a long time now, so I've got plenty of obsidian, loads of diamonds, and then the books are not difficult to get. So I can craft 63 of these, and of course there's already one in the checklist over here. So I can add them, and that's another stack of items added to the checklist. And I think there's only the one more item to go in this chest, which is the lodestones. So I need 61 more of these. I could just go craft them now, but I want to try find as many as I can from the bastions over time, and then after a while I'll just craft up the remaining ones that I still need. Okay, I know I said I was going to do one more build in this area in this episode, but I'm just not going to have time to do that. I'm going away from home in a few days, and I want to get this video edited and uploaded before then, so I just don't think I'm going to have time to do this. I could probably just throw something together quickly and build something, but it's likely that I wouldn't like it very much and I'd end up destroying it and rebuilding it at some point. So I think I'm just going to leave it for now until I've got more time to design it, and then I'll build something that I'm actually happy with. There's definitely more work I can do in some of these areas like this where there's some grass, and there's bits I'll change up over time. There's still quite a bit of blank space over there around that house I could do something with. So there's still changes I will make to this area, but I think it's looking good so far. And then there's the walls around the outside of the island as well. I need to go and detail them, do the work underwater to make it match like this area over here. So there's still a lot of work to do in this area, even though it looks a lot better than it did at the start of the episode. And then of course there's the whole rest of the island as well. So there's a lot of work to do here. I don't think I'm going to get this village done for at least another year or two. I'm going to try to do more work on it now that I've done this bit here. It should be a little bit easier to go around the rest of the island and kind of copy some of the techniques I've been using down here. And that's only the top of the base. Of course, I've got the main part of the base as well, which I didn't actually manage to work on today. So I've still got quite a few areas here that I need to dig out and then build rooms. And I still want to dig this all the way down to bedrock. I'm not sure what I want to do down there just yet. But yeah, there's still so much work to do on this base. It's probably going to keep me busy for another 5 years or so. There's one more thing that I quickly want to show before I end the episode for anyone who hasn't clicked off it yet. So if you followed me for a while, you'll know that I make these maps. So this was a map of when I first started the world. I think I was like a week into it. And then every time I make a decent amount of progress around the island, I will make a new map. So I've got 6 of them now. Of course the one at the end is the most up-to-date one. So I'm just going to start from the first one and then I'll make my way through them all. So as I mentioned, this first one is when I was about a week into the world. If you haven't followed me for a while, you might not know, but this is a jungle island. So these are all of the jungle trees and then the oak trees. So I still had a lot of work to clear all of this out. I'd already started clearing some out up here. And then you can see the little starter base that I had. So the base was there, I had a tree that I kept mining down and replanting, a little crop field, the enchantment table, and then I think this was like a little cow pen. So that was right at the start of the world. Moving on to the next one was a few months later once I'd started the actual base itself. So it looks like I've got rid of all of the trees, and I've started clearing out the land in the middle, or flattening out this land in the middle here so I can plan out the base. So there's still a lot of land here that I've not cleared out yet, and I've extended the base up here a little bit. I think this was a cobblestone generator, an iron farm, and I think that's actually all that I added up there. So yeah, this was a few months on the world at this point. The next map is when the island is basically completely flat. So you can see that I've cleared out all of the land from up here and down here. I've flattened it out for the most part. There's still little bits here where the water is that I need to remove. It also looks like I've dug down the base a little bit more, so I've probably got my storage room in place at this point. And up here it looks like I've only added a few little farms. This was a cactus farm, and I think this one here was a dripstone farm if I remember. Moving on to the next one, this is when I finally removed my little starter base from the top of the island and I started building the village. I've got my beacons in place here. You can see the netherite one, I think that's only 18 netherite blocks in total there. So you'll kind of see that progress over time. You can also see that I've removed the water that was here and up here. Originally I was going to keep them there and just use them as ponds, but I decided to remove them and I'm going to build some stuff on top of them at some point. I'm pretty sure at this point I've also dug down all of the way to bedrock, because you can see the moss at the bottom of the base, and I didn't do that until I got all of the way to the bottom of it. I've got the lighthouse over here and then the farm over here. It looks like I'm just about to get started on the rest of the farm because I built this barn first and then I did the rest of it. So over here I should have the rest of the farm. And then I've also got this house up here. The hot air balloons were added at some point. And then I got the first 3 houses here in place. There's also a little bit more progress on the netherite beacon, and then I've got a few junk farms at the bottom of the island. And then here is the most up-to-date one. So you can see all of the things that I've added in today's episode. I've also made a little bit more progress on the netherite beacon since the last map. And you can actually see the line right here. That's where I've got these maps at the moment. And I did the same on the other map, and I actually locked this map with that in place. So I'm going to make sure I get rid of all of these before I actually lock the map this time. So yeah, that's just the progress of my base over time. I do want to add these maps to a museum that I plan to build down there at some point. But that's going to be a big project. It's going to take a lot of planning and I've just never got round to that. But it's definitely a project I do want to do at some point soon. So then I can have all of these maps on display all the time. But I'm not sure if the item frames are going to cause a bunch of lag, so that might not actually be the best idea. But anyway, this is where I want to end today's episode. I'm hoping to get this video edited and uploaded before I go away in a few days, so I hope everyone enjoyed this one, and I will see you all next time.